Let's talk about halos and horns. Now, these are two different cognitive biases. There's one called the halo effect, and there's one that's called the horns effect. But they are the opposite, the flip side of the same coin. With both of these cognitive biases, they point to something that we have all experienced, and we have been on both sides of it. We have succumbed to this bias, and people have used this bias to maybe misunderstand us and misinterpret our intents and our actions and our words and all sorts of things. So the halo effect is this. It's that we are inclined oftentimes to believe and to trust people that we like more than people that we don't like. So if there's someone that maybe you like, you have a good relationship with, they seem kind, they sort of have a charismatic appearance or style and the way that they carry themselves, that we're more inclined to trust or think that what they say is true. That's the bias. And of course, the horns effect is the opposite, that if we really don't like someone, and we can even build up over time how much we like someone, how much we dislike someone, but if we don't like someone, then we find it very hard to believe that anything they've accomplished was actually successful, or anything they say is actually true, or anything they say is actually worthwhile. But the reality is there is hardly anyone on the planet where they are really dislikable and they're always wrong 100% of the time, or where someone is really likable and they are always right all of the time. We are a mix of all of those things in all of our lives. Sometimes we can have some likable and unlikable traits. And I understand some of you, even as you're watching this, it's hard to not watch this and not think about the political landscape over the last number of years, from the different presidential candidates, depending upon where you are in the political spectrum in terms of your own ideals and the like. And I'm not getting into any specific political statement here, but I will say this. There has never been a president of the United States who was wrong on every single thing or who was right on every single thing, whether you liked that person or you disliked them. And some people will find that very hard to digest, because they will say, no, not this person, or if you have a particular person in mind. The reality is the halo and the horns effect is emotionally powerful. And as you've learned, if you listen to any of my other videos on cognitive biases, emotions can be a great gift. They can motivate us. They can help us see things and appreciate things and lean into them and go deeper into things. But emotions can also blur our vision and distort our reality and deter us from discovering actual truth and solving real problems if we're not careful about it. So how do we handle the halo and horns effects whenever we find ourselves experiencing it? I'll give you 5 things to consider, just to kind of tuck away and to try out, because these are meant to be things that we actually practice. The first one is this. Think about, create a memory bank, and it's good to actually write down people that were really unlikable in your life, and they were really right about something important. And maybe it took you a month, a week, a month, a year, or a decade, or longer to come to realize and accept the fact that they were right about it. But they were very unlikable and they were very right. See if you can't make a list of 10 people like that in your life. And that can be really helpful. And then the second suggestion is to do the exact opposite. Take a piece of paper and write down people that you really liked and you really believed them because you liked them and had so much respect for them. And they were really wrong about whatever it was that they were saying. Again, it might not have been visible to you at the time, but over time it came to be true. Both of these two can be a wonderful help in recognizing that these sort of extreme ways of thinking, likable people always right, dislikable people always wrong, and it can cause you to look at things with a little bit more nuance, because remember, our goal is the search for truth. This is not about endorsing a person, not endorsing a person. We are trying to learn from their best ideas and their best thinking, and that can come from surprising places sometimes. All right, so the third one then is to do a little bit of a switch sides drill. This is where, before you dismiss or believe an idea, ask this question. If it's someone that you liked, imagine a person that you dislike a great deal or that you have difficulty respecting or trusting. And imagine them saying it. And really, you have to really imagine this and see how that influences your thought about the claim, the truth claim. And you can flip it both ways, right? Someone that you like a lot, and you imagine instead that it was someone that you really mistrust, or you can flip it around and do it if it's someone who says it that you mistrust or dislike, and now flip it and imagine it being said by someone that you really did like. And by the way, in the political world, this is actually quite common. You'll see this where some people who were huge advocates for one political candidate and they were very much against another political candidate, and you'll find these videos where years apart, they both made the exact same claim. And when one of them said it, people were really supportive about it, and when another said it, people were not. And that happens in our lives all over the place. So something to consider is playing around with that. The fourth one is to do another bit of a drill or exercise that's about opposing evidence. So force yourself to find the strongest evidence you can to contradict your instinct to either believe or disbelieve the person. So this is where it's almost like you're using another cognitive bias. So if it's someone you really disbelieve, you're going to try to create a strong man argument, and if it's someone that you disbelieve, you're going to create a straw man, although you actually a strong argument against. I guess in both cases it's a strong argument, but you're going to try to aim for the strongest evidence you can that contradicts whatever your instinct is to either believe or not believe. And this is going to draw you into thinking more analytically. And you have to be serious with yourself for this to work. You can't play games with yourself and just not try very hard because you want to be right about this person. So this is really about the pursuit of truth, seeking truth. And then the fifth one is just a little bit of a personal story check to personalize this and add a little bit of empathy. Is imagine a few times in your life where you were the object of this kind of bias, where someone who you were right about something and someone just didn't trust you or like you and they didn't believe you. And think about how that played out and how that felt. Or there was someone that really liked you and really believed you and you turned out to be wrong. And so personalize it and do some of that work. If we do these 5 things and you do them kind of regularly, you come back to them every so often and practice this, even just sort of giving yourself a few days or weeks of really just thinking about this for a while, kind of training your mind, then you just remind yourself of it later, and it will cultivate a way of seeing and thinking that can be a real gift. I hope you find this helpful. I look forward to your comments.